Hey guys, welcome back to Movie Idol. So here is my review for episode 5 of season 10 titled What It Always Is. Tonight's episode was absolutely fantastic. Wow, I was not expecting that from this episode. I was definitely excited to see what would come of Negan out of his cell and what would happen with him and Brandon and just the reveal of all of that and how it would all play out. But it definitely surprised me. I really enjoyed this episode. I would say it's in my top 5 episodes of all time. It probably would be like number 5. For sure in my top 10. Like, tonight's episode was really great. I'm a huge fan of Negan, and I think that's why. Like, if you love that character, this episode celebrates that character. It does so much for him. This episode has convinced me that I want a Walking Dead that's led by Negan. I really do. It'd be such an interesting take because he was a villain beforehand and it's just such a weird direction to go in, but you can't deny the charisma that character has. You can't deny the on-screen presence that he has. Like, you're automatically glued to the screen. He is such an exciting part of The Walking Dead, and tonight's episode did all of that for me. I mean, I absolutely love this episode. We learned a lot of stuff. A lot of things were set up in tonight's episode for future arcs. Actually, there was one specifically that I know for a fact, or at least I feel like was set up for season 11, but we'll talk about that in this review. Obviously, before we jump in, I do have to warn you for spoilers for tonight's episode. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want more Walking Dead content like this, you want reviews, trailer breakdowns, and etc., just make sure to be a subscriber. So before we get into that very final scene, that very final scene between Negan and Beta, and talk about everything that happened with Negan and Brandon and some of the Daryl stuff, I want to talk about the smaller storylines. Kelly had an interesting story in tonight's episode. I don't really know if there was a point in doing it. I think there's a point in doing it maybe for later. Like, this may have been set up for her death in future episodes, because, I mean, she's going deaf right now. She struggled so much out there, and I don't know, I feel like something's gonna happen there, but maybe not. The whole thing of this episode was that she was lost. Her and Magna had been stealing supplies. That was the big reveal because, I mean, they've been losing supplies. People have been stealing from the Hilltop. They were wondering who it was. And then it's eventually revealed that Magna did it. You get some Magna backstory, some stuff with Yumiko. You understand how their relationship works. And yeah, I enjoyed all that stuff. It was nice to actually get some backstory on those characters, to get more to do with those characters. This was definitely a very character-driven, character development episode for that story, because it also touched on other characters like Eldon and Earl and how they're feeling about it all. And Earl is right. Like, hilariously enough, Earl is actually right about the Whisperers. Like, that tree that fell down, that was because of the Whisperers. So as much as Yumiko and all of them are downplaying it all, I mean, he is right. And Aaron's also right. Like, I do trust these characters now. It's a big thing that we learned about the Whisperers, is that they actually are trying to kill off, like, Michonne, Alexandria, Hilltop, like all of them. They're trying to kill off all those characters, all those people, and they're doing it by contaminating the water or releasing little, like, spurts of walker hordes at them to keep them completely tired. And I do want to talk about that too. There was a lot of side plots in tonight's episode. We learned that Gamma was poisoning the water. Aaron actually catches her and he does help her out, which was, I found that's an interesting turn for the character, because I thought he really just hated the Whisperers, but he saw her in need. I mean, she cut her hand open and he was like, here. He just passes her some gauze or whatever, and she takes it. She runs away. He says, I'm from Vermont or whatever, which I didn't actually know. Maybe he talked about that before. But yeah, that's some nice character backstory there. But what's interesting is that Gamma almost seems to have this growing hate for Alpha right now. And I don't know if Alpha can see it yet. I think maybe, because Alpha could be smart enough to know that Gamma's feeling that way. But who knows? As of now, it just looks like Gamma is doing what she needs to do to survive. And Aaron reaching out in that way, actually, it gave Gamma some clarity. But then again, she is a Whisperer. You still can't really trust her. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with that storyline. Alpha seems to want to use Aaron in some way. And yeah, I'm interested in seeing what they do with that. I really like that they add that to this episode. As far as anything significant going to happen to Aaron now because he helped Gamma, again, I think we're going to see some more Gamma and Aaron scenes. As for, can they form some kind of bond? Is there a way that Aaron can actually help Gamma into maybe, joining Alexandria? That remains to be seen. I think it's way too early to even know. With a character like Gamma, it's so hard. Like I said, she's very unpredictable. She actually killed her sister. So she's willing to do a lot to service the Whisperers. This story was just seated in right now. We'll have to wait and see where this goes, but I'm definitely worried for Aaron. I can say that. I think I'm really worried for what's going to happen to the character, because Alpha is just batshit crazy. I mean, one Whisperer just mentions, okay, well, instead of releasing or like contaminating the water or releasing little herds here and there and just like destroying them slowly or whatever, why don't we just unleash the entire horde all at them, like all at once. And that undermined Alpha and Beta. At first, when I was watching that, I was like, well, maybe Alpha really does want to hear what he has to say, but no, not at all. Everyone else was smart because she was like, oh, should we take a vote or whatever? No one else raised their hand because Alpha probably would have killed them all too, or I guess Beta would have. But yeah, that Whisperer, whatever his name was, he was right in doing that. I do think Alpha doing this, if you're coming at it from a Whisperer perspective, Alpha and Beta and their plan right now is definitely going to hurt them in the long run because at some point Alexandria and the Hilltop are going to get frustrated and just attack, right? So he is right, and I do think it's going to come back and hurt Alpha and Beta in the future. But yeah, I thought that was a really nice scene because he undermined Alpha there. And it definitely did set up what's going to happen in the second half of season 10. Like, they will unleash that entire horde on Alexandria, but it'll take a lot. Like, I really do think Alpha or Beta or someone's going to die. The Whisperers are going to suffer tremendously, and they're just going to, like, really, they're going to lash out, unleash the tens of thousands of walkers on Alexandria, and yeah, it's going to be insane. We also learned some very sad news, which is Ezekiel has cancer. I believe it's thyroid cancer, and Ezekiel and Sadiq are basically under the belief that it's a death sentence in the apocalypse, because in the old world, you know, when we had wizards and stuff, they can actually work on this stuff and it can actually cure people. It's actually pretty curable according to Ezekiel. But in this world now, you know, where we don't really have doctors, we don't have all that technology, it's a death sentence. And originally, and I talked about it I think in my review or in my trailer breakdown for last week's episode or whatever it was, whatever video I posted a week ago, I thought that Ezekiel was going to die because of, you know, like, where do you go with the character? But with the way they set it up in this episode, I mean, it's still a possibility, but I feel like he's going to beat this somehow because for like they really focused on the fact that it was a death sentence, that he's going to die. And I'm like, you know, it can't just be that simple now. There's no way it's just going to lead to to some scene in the future where he dies. It can't be that simple. I do think he's going to beat it, but there's got to be a way to beat it. And if you notice, Eugene is also at the Hilltop, so that spawned a new theory that the Commonwealth are actually going to help Ezekiel and they're going to cure him because, I mean, this is episode 5. At some point now, in episode 6, 7, or 8, eventually soon, we're going to come into contact with Stephanie from the Commonwealth. They are a community with 50,000 people. They definitely have the technology to help someone with cancer. They have to have those resources. And so I really do think that's what's going to happen here. Eugene will come into contact with them at some point, and then he'll discover everything about the Commonwealth. He'll tell Ezekiel and Sadiq all of that. And yeah, I really think that's how they're going to cure Ezekiel's illness. Maybe he still dies. Maybe it's too late or something like that. But I don't know. I feel like that's the perfect way because for some reason, Eugene's at the Hilltop. There's a radio there. Ezekiel is suffering now, and if he doesn't get treatment, it is going to kill him. So this could be the motivation to actually go and meet the Commonwealth, because you also do need that motivation. Like on the show, there's no way they're just gonna like meet this community and then want to meet them for the sake of meeting them. This could be the motivation to meet them. Like, we need to cure our friend here, Ezekiel. They might not trust the community, but it's like, well, you know what? We might as well go. And again, I could be really wrong with this, but I just found it very weird that they really just hammered down the fact that this was a death sentence. It's like, okay, well, if you're doing that, it can't be that straightforward for future episodes that he's just going to die now, right? There's got to be a way for him to survive. Because that is the next arc in the comic, it makes sense. You know, Eugene's there. I think that makes sense. That is exactly how Ezekiel's going to survive. Daryl also tells a story about Merle, which is super awesome. And also, he really does like Connie. You can really tell. He like purposely was trying to make her feel better. He held her hand. Like, they're definitely like flirting. I think Angela King is definitely setting up that relationship and could be setting up a potential heartbreak because, I mean, you know that Connie is going to die at some point, I feel like, and that's obviously going to crush Daryl. I'm just wondering, at what point do you kill Connie off? Do you have them actually be in a relationship? Maybe they actually have a kid or something like that. Do you even go there with the Daryl character? Because Daryl's really good at just being alone, not having any of that. Maybe when Daryl's almost feeling something for Connie, that's when you kill her off. When Daryl's about to be in a relationship with her. That's heartbreaking. I don't even know why I'm going there, but that's writing, right? That's drama. That's what you do. But yeah, all of that stuff was fun. Now I want to talk about Brandon and Negan. That damn classic Negan scene, I love that. That Brandon character I really enjoyed. I actually enjoyed him way more than I thought. He is such an awesome character. I think he's a memorable character. I really am going to remember him for, well, seasons to come. He was just such an awesome character. To have this standalone, almost like Here's Negan-like story, it was definitely really well executed. We learned that his dad was a savior, and his dad would almost romanticize what it was like to be a savior, and And so Brandon just grew up thinking, I want to be that. I want Negan to be the leader. And I guess he was always so frustrated and pissed off that Negan was in that cell. This completely ruined that spy theory I had about Brandon, but I mean, I didn't really have any proof for that theory anyways. That was just kind of a tinfoil hat theory. But yeah, we still don't know how Negan escaped. Brandon asks him, but he doesn't answer. So I'm really wondering who let Negan out. I'm really wondering if it's Carol. Like, Carol did it, and Carol told Negan, well, if you go there and you kill Alpha, then maybe I'll vouch for you and you're allowed out in Alexandria or something like that. Maybe they made a deal. I honestly feel like that's going to be the reveal at some point. I really feel like Carol did it. Maybe Michonne. I don't know. They raised the question though, so someone did it. As of now, I think it's probably Carol because, again, Carol and Negan haven't had a scene together yet, so I think that's probably why they set that up. Also, I love that Brandon mentioned Rick Grimes, because it's just, I mean, it's awesome to hear Rick Grimes. He called him a hypocrite, though, which kind of pissed me off. He also was just like, I guess I love Negan's reaction to that, but he got really pissed off when he was like, oh, I heard you cut Carl's hand off, and I heard you shot him or something like you're the one who killed him. Negan got so pissed off about that, because, I mean, he had a special place in his heart, or he has a special place in his heart for Carl. I think he still regrets what happened to Carl, and I think that's definitely a point in, or a place that Rick and Negan can actually bond, is their love for Carl. I think they both really obviously Rick loves Carl, but Negan really loved that kid, right? And so I think that's Rick and Negan's connection. There's also Judith now too, but yeah, just Negan's reaction there, I loved it. It felt honest. Negan does get Lucille back, kind of. It's like a second or 2.0 version of Lucille. He does get his jacket back though, which was, that was amazing. Now, the whole story, I mean, it really felt like Here's Negan. They borrowed a lot from that, like not completely, but it has the same vibes. There's little things that kind of felt like familiar, but it overall is a different story. I don't even think we need Here's Negan at this point, to be honest. It's such a short story, and what we got in tonight's episode was essentially, it was that. I think it's actually probably a better telling of it, the way they did it. I mean, I don't think there's a point now. I really don't think there's a point to have a Here's Negan movie unless they're planning to change up a lot of what happened in the source material. I'm satisfied with what we got in tonight's episode. I really am. But then we get to the end, and yeah, we learn that Brandon, and he's so obsessed with Negan. He's doing the whistle. When Negan blows him off at that one point, he comes back and he's like, oh, that was just a test. And he killed that wife and the kid. And yeah, that was sad because Negan, it seemed like he was really helping that kid out. And then Negan bashes his head in and then takes that jacket and then goes off to see Beta. But yeah, that was just such a fun story. The whole Negan and Brandon story tonight, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more so than the Morgan and what was the guy's name? He was the one that taught Morgan how to fight. It was like Eastman or something like that. I remember him on X-Files a lot. I enjoyed tonight's episode more than that episode, and I really, really liked that episode. But of course, we get to Negan and Beta, and I mean, what can I say about that? It's probably one of my favorite scenes ever of The Walking Dead. Probably in my top 10 for sure. I'm not going to say it's my favorite scene. Obviously, there are a lot of great scenes, but I enjoyed this scene so much. I've rewatched it probably 10, 20 times already. Little pig, let me in. All the little callbacks and wearing the jacket, having Lucille, and like just killing those walkers, having Beta come in at the end, like having those two characters officially meet. I actually got that right, so I'm happy about that. Oh, I really can't wait for episode 6, episode 7. I can't wait for the future. I feel like now we're officially getting started. This season's been very, very slow. I've enjoyed the episodes, but it's definitely been very slow. Tonight, I think, was a game changer, though. I think Negan really got this season going, and I really can't wait to see what happens. I mean, he's with the Whisperers now. We'll talk about more in my trailer breakdown, all that, but as of now, it looks like Negan's going to join the Whisperers, and I mean, yeah, we'll talk about what that means, what happens in the comics, and etc. in another video, but yeah, I'm super excited. But overall, this is my favorite episode of the season by far. Really, really enjoyed it. Post your thoughts down below. Let me know what you guys all thought. Stay tuned for my trailer breakdown coming out very soon, and thanks for watching.